Hello. It's a bit of a gloomy and rainy day here in London, but I thought it would be fun to film a book haul out here in my garden studio because talking about new books always cheers me up. And even though it's very wet outside, looking outside my window here, the garden looks very green and everything is in bloom and it's looking really nice. And also, we just sort of cleaned up and reorganized everything in this garden. Well, I like to call it a garden studio. It's really just a shed, but I like to call it the garden studio. And we've done that thing, which I've never done before, with bookshelves out here that I've organized them all in rainbow colors, which it just seems like obligatory for anybody that's doing book stuff online at some point to have a rainbow bookshelf. And because all the books out here are just kind of like a whole mixture of books, there's no real organization to them, so thought, why not put them into rainbow colors? So and hopefully by the end of this video the sun will come out a bit and maybe I'll see a rainbow out in the sky. If I notice one up while I'm filming, I'll turn the camera around and try to capture the rainbow, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I have quite a few new books here, some of which I bought myself, others publishers kindly sent me, and I think they all sound really interesting. There's a whole mixture of new fiction and some non-fiction and some great stuff for Pride Month, because it's Pride Month starting in June, so I'm hoping to read some, or if not all of these books. I would be quite ambitious to read all of them because I have quite a lot. But anyway, starting off with a new novel by Rachel Khong called Real Americans, and this follows 3 generations of a Chinese American family, in particular following 2 children of the family in their young adulthood, as they deal with the expectations of their family, but also with the reality of living in present day America. And I had read Rachel Khong's novel Goodbye Vitamin, which I thought was so excellent, and I thought really should have got more attention at the time, but from what I understand, this is getting a lot of publicity and buzz, which is fantastic, because her writing was so good, and so really looking forward to diving into this fairly long novel. This strange eventful history by Claire Messud, and this novel follows a man named Gaston in Paris in 1940 when the city has become occupied by the Germans, and it follows him as he becomes a naval attaché and travels around the world with the military. Not sure what a naval attaché is, but yeah, basically he's involved in the war, and it follows him as he travels to a lot of different places around the world, and what happens to his connection or his disconnection with his family that he leaves behind. And this is endorsed by Yiyan Li, the author, who says it's one of those rare novels which a reader doesn't merely read but lives through with the characters. And now Yiyan Li is a judge on this year's Booker Prize, and I've found in the past that it's sometimes a bit of a tip-off that if one of the judges has endorsed that book on the cover, then it is quite likely to show up in the Booker Prize long list. But we'll just have to wait and see when that's not always the case, but it's quite often the case, so it might be a little tip-off for you. A novel that takes place 15 years after the end of World War II is The Safekeep, and this is a story about a Dutch woman who lives on her own in her family home until her brother comes to stay with her with his girlfriend, who is quite a difficult person and really makes her presence known, and so we follow their story in this very tense situation of them trying to cohabit with each other. It has a really beautiful cover and really beautiful end papers on the inside. Look at that, it's really gorgeous. And Claire Fuller is a fan of this book. She says says it's haunting and exquisitely poignant. Next, I have a couple of books that deal with kind of modern life and the internet age. So there's the novel Allow Me to Introduce Myself, which follows a young woman who's basically grown up with a stepmother who's a kind of influencer online and has photographed her like throughout her entire life and posted pictures of her on social media. But now she's in her 20s and she's not really behaving the way that people expect her to, having felt like they got to know her through all of her like social media presence, but really she's trying to forge her own independent life for herself apart from the image that her stepmother has created for herself, like through her social media profile, which is a really interesting premise. So I'm intrigued to see how this story plays out. Then there's a collection of short stories about people that are growing up in the internet age called My First Book. And so some of these short stories have titles like Internet Girl or Cancel Me or Z was for Zoomer. And Nell Zink, the author, endorses this book and says it's an intellectual autobiography from the front lines of post-adolescence. Honor Levy kicks herself toward a series of shifting cultural goalposts with willfully errant skepticism. 1 Hour of Fervour. This is a novel about a Japanese man who's quite a successful art dealer and feels like he has his life really together, but he meets a French woman and they have a wild fling with each other, but then she disappears, she leaves his life, and he finds out that she became pregnant during their time together, and he has a child, but this French woman wants nothing to do with him and refuses to see him again. So it's about that dilemma, which sounds like a really intriguing story. And also, I'm just a sucker for any book that has a fox on the cover. Like Water, Like Sea by Olumide Popoola. And this novel is about a woman in modern day London who's grappling with the loss and death of her sister, but also her mother's mental illness, as well as, just sort of modern everyday life. And I had read this author's debut novel, and I thought she had such a striking and original voice. So I'm really excited about reading this, which is her second novel. Mouthing by Orla Mackey. This is an Irish novel about a small Irish town, and it's composed of a series of monologues. So we get different perspectives of people in the town over many years to tell the stories of the lives of families and friends and this community over a period of time. And not all of them are trustworthy, so you sort of have to piece together the truth from all of these different accounts, I love the sound of it, because I love it when fiction is a kind of like puzzle that you have to solve, but also has really powerful voices at the center of it. And I just love New Irish fiction in general, so I think this sounds excellent. All This Here Now by Anna Stern, who's an author based in Zurich, and it's translated by Damien Searles, who also translates the Norwegian author Jan Foss, Nobel Prize winner. And this follows a group of friends after the death of one of their friends, and giving an account of the loss of this friend, and recalling their life and how their friend's loss has left this like gap within their friendship group. And I think it's narrated in this kind of collective voice, and it only uses lowercase letters, and so is kind of innovative in that way, and seems to have a kind of like new way of approaching narrative voice, which I find really really intriguing. Notes from an Island by Tove Jansson, the great artist and writer, creator of the Moomin series. And this is an account of how in Tove Jansson's 40s, she created a cabin on an island off the coast of Finland. And there she lived for many years with her life partner. And they created art and wrote and just learned about this natural environment around them. And this is a photo of them together, so beautiful. And yeah, Tove Jansson, just such a comfort to read. In Universes by Emet North, this novel is about a physicist who studies the night sky and the stars and starts to contemplate how they might have lived alternative lives and tries to follow the path of what would have happened if they'd made some slightly different decisions in their life. And I'm not too sure about like the description of that story, but first off, I just love anything that's about like studying the universe and like outer space in that way. And it has a beautiful cover, and also it's published by Hamish Hamilton, that almost always publishes really quality literature. So I think this sounds like a really interesting novel. Selamlik by Khaled Alesmael, which has a very racy cover to it. And it follows a gay Syrian man in Damascus who has to live a kind of double life in that his everyday life, he receives a lot of persecution, but he has sexual encounters with other men in cruising areas and in bathhouses. And so it's about this duality that he's forced to live with. The In-Between by Christos Tsiolkas, and this is a novel following two gay men who are in their 40s and who have had really bad experiences with past relationships, but they meet and they feel this spark with each other, but they're also very trepidatious about getting involved in another long-term relationship because they've been so let down by in the past. And I don't think I've ever really read a novel with that premise before, which is great. A Last Supper of Queer Apostles, which is a fantastic name, by the Chilean author Pedro Lemebel, and who died in 2015. And so this is a collection of essays and memoirist pieces, writing about a whole range of subject matter, but a lot of it about queer experience in Latin America. And so this author is a bit of a legend, and I've never read him before, so I'll be really intrigued to dip into it. Bad Habit by Alana S. Portero, and this follows a young trans woman who moves to Madrid looking for a sense of community and acceptance, and it's following her struggles but also the joys of meeting other like-minded people there and forging connections. So this is endorsed by none other than Pedro Almodovar, who says, "I urge you to read Bad Habit." Monstrum by Lottie Mills. This is a collection of short stories that are described as Gothic modern fairy tales, following a whole range of individuals who are kind of isolated from the rest of society and trying to strike out on their own. This author's writing has been likened to Angela Carter and Mariana Enriquez. So yeah, sign me up. Wild Ground by Emily Usher. This is about two individuals called Neef and Danny who grow up in the north of England, but at one point Neef moves south to London and creates a new name for herself and a new life for herself, and so Danny tries to reconnect with her and try to understand why she left behind her previous life to create this new one. And finally, there is All Fours by Miranda July, which follows a woman who is a semi-famous artist in her 40s, not too unlike Miranda July herself, who plans to temporarily leave her life to go on a road trip across America, but she doesn't get very far, and so it's following her like chaotic struggle for to have new experiences and try to recreate herself by going on this journey. And I've really enjoyed reading Miranda July's previous novel and her short stories and watching her films, and I just think she's really eccentric and fascinating, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this new novel. So those are all the new books I want to talk about. I'd love to know if you have read any of these books, if you would recommend them, or if you're interested in reading any of them now. The sun has come out a bit more, but I haven't seen a rainbow in the sky, so sorry I'm not able to show you that. But I hope you're doing well and reading good things, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.